Picture this. Two men walk into the same gym on the same morning. They're both 50 years old. Both have built successful careers. Both practice intermittent fasting religiously. And just an hour ago, they ate the exact same post-workout meal, a perfectly cooked grass-fed steak with eggs and whole wheat toast. By every measure the fitness industry has drilled into our heads for the past 2 decades, these men should see identical results. They're doing the work, they're following the rules, they're paying the price in sweat and discipline. But here's where it gets strange. One of them is literally defying the aging process. He's packing on lean, dense muscle tissue every single week. His mind is sharp as a blade. In his libido, it's firing like he just turned 25 again. He's the guy everyone looks at in the locker room and thinks, that's how I want to age. Meanwhile, the other guy is quietly suffering. Despite the heavy deadlifts, despite the grueling 16-hour fasting windows, he's battling a brain fog so thick it feels like someone stuffed cotton wool behind his eyes. He's carrying stubborn belly fat that refuses to budge no matter what he does. His testosterone levels are flatlining, and he feels drained, apathetic, and honestly, weak. You're probably thinking this comes down to genetics, right? One guy won the lottery, the other didn't. But what if I told you there's one hidden detail that almost everyone overlooks, and it makes all the difference between thriving and slowly decaying? What if the secret isn't in the gym? What if it's not even in the fasting protocol? What if the answer is flowing through their veins right now, in their blood? We're going to start with a simple concept that the entire fitness industry misses. But by the end of this, you'll understand the complete biological system, from what you eat to how you manage stress to the long-term switches that control your vitality. I'm going to hand you the complete roadmap so you can stop guessing and start knowing exactly what your body needs. But first, you need to understand why the very thing you think is fueling your success might actually be poisoning your potential. We've been conditioned to think of blood type as just a medical detail, something the nurse checks before surgery. O, A, B, AB, just letters on a chart, right? Wrong. That's a dangerously shallow understanding. Your blood type is not just a category, it's a biological blueprint. It's an ancient genetic code that dictates exactly how your body digests food, handles stress, and manufactures testosterone. For decades, we've been sold a one-size-fits-all approach to men's health. The advice is always the same. Eat red meat, lift heavy weights, take your zinc supplements, rinse and repeat. But for millions of men, especially once you cross into your 40s and 50s, this advice isn't just failing, it's actively backfiring. By ignoring your blood type, you might be feeding your body foods that are universally labeled as superfoods, foods that health gurus swear by. But for your specific chemistry, they're creating chaos. They act like chemical static in your system. With every single meal, you're unknowingly triggering a silent, microscopic immune response that forces your body to choose immediate survival over testosterone production. Think of it this way. You've got a high-performance sports car with an engine designed to run on premium fuel. That's your body. But every time you break your fast, you're filling the tank with diesel. Sure, the car still runs, but it smokes, it stutters, and eventually the engine breaks down completely. That's exactly what's happening to your endocrine system when you ignore this biological mismatch. Most men think boosting testosterone is about addition, adding more supplements, adding more volume in the gym, adding more intensity. But here's the truth. For your specific blood type, the key to unlocking your genetic potential isn't addition at all, it's subtraction. The answer might be as simple as removing one specific trigger that's currently hijacking your entire hormonal system. And I need to raise the stakes here because this is absolutely crucial. If you're type A and you try to fix this problem the same way a type O man does, you won't just fail, you'll make it worse. Your bodies handle biological stress in completely opposite ways. What cures one man can chemically castrate another. This might seem like a minor detail now, but as we dig deeper into the stress response mechanism, it becomes the difference between a heart attack and a healthy, vibrant life. So let's start with the first layer of this mystery, the microscopic war happening in your gut right now. I want to pause here and validate something important. You're not lazy. You're not weak-willed. You're the guy who does his research, who tries the protocols, who invests in expensive supplements, and yet you still feel off. You wake up feeling unrested. You hit that brutal mid-afternoon crash. You look in the mirror and you don't see the vitality you've earned through discipline. You're not crazy, and this isn't about lacking discipline. This is a biological mismatch. You're literally fighting a war against your own chemistry, and you didn't even know the battle was happening. To understand why, we need to look at the mechanism. It starts with antigens. Every single red blood cell in your body carries a chemical marker, a flag that screams, "I am type A," or "I am type O." These antigens are your body's security guards. They determine what is recognized as self and what gets flagged as a foreign invader. This is where food enters the picture. Many foods contain proteins called lectins. I want you to visualize Velcro for a second. You know how Velcro has one side with hard hooks and another side with soft loops? Certain dietary lectins act exactly like those hooks, and depending on your blood type, your blood cells and gut lining act like the loops.
When you eat a food containing a lectin that's incompatible with your blood type, those microscopic hooks latch onto your cells. They stick. This causes something called agglutination, essentially microclotting. When this happens, your immune system goes into full panic mode. It views that food, that innocent piece of whole wheat toast, that kidney bean, as an invader, just like a virus or bacteria. This triggers a full-scale immune defense. White blood cells get mobilized, inflammatory cytokines flood your system, and your body enters a state of chronic, low-grade inflammation. Now, you might be thinking, I'm tough, I can handle a little inflammation. But here's what most people don't realize. Your body cannot be in a state of growth and defense at the same time. It's physically impossible. There's a fundamental biological law called the principle of resource allocation. When your immune system is activated to fight off your lunch, your body perceives an active threat. To the primitive, survival-focused part of your brain, inflammation signals injury or infection. When this happens, your body immediately triggers the adrenal glands to pump out cortisol, the master stress hormone. Here's the critical part. Cortisol is catabolic. It breaks things down to ensure survival. Testosterone, on the other hand, is anabolic. It builds things up for growth and reproduction. These two hormones are biologically inversely correlated. They operate on a seesaw. When cortisol spikes to manage the inflammation caused by your diet, testosterone is forced to drop. It's not optional. It's a survival mechanism hardwired into your DNA. Your body is essentially saying, we're under attack right now. This is not the time to reproduce or build expensive muscle tissue. This is the time to survive. Understanding this first step, fixing your diet, is helpful, but the real transformation happens in the next part because it deals with how your body clears that stress once it's already built up in your system. This leads us to the moment where everything clicks into place. We have to understand that our blood types didn't just appear randomly. They evolved over tens of thousands of years under vastly different environmental pressures and survival conditions. They are genetic time capsules, carrying the memory of how your ancestors lived and what they needed to survive. Let's examine the paradox between type O and type A. This is where 90% of men get their training completely wrong, and it's why so many burn out hard in their 50s. Type O is the oldest blood type on record. It's the blood of the hunter. If you're type O, your genetic memory was forged on the open plains, chasing down game, sprinting after prey, engaging in explosive physical action. Because of this evolutionary history, type O biology has a hair-trigger fight-or-flight response. When you get stressed, your body dumps massive amounts of adrenaline into your system almost instantly. You're built for explosive action and rapid response. Here's where the paradox gets interesting. If you're type O and you're stressed out and you try to relax by sitting on the couch meditating or doing gentle yoga, you might actually be destroying your testosterone. It sounds counterintuitive at first, but it works differently than you'd expect. Why?
because your biology requires intense physical exertion to clear those stress hormones out of your system. If you don't sprint, lift something heavy, or punch a bag, that cortisol just sits there, simmering in your bloodstream. It creates a toxic chemical soup that actively suppresses your Leydig cells, the cells in your testes that manufacture testosterone. For type O men, movement isn't just exercise for fitness, it's a chemical cleanse. It's the reset button for your entire hormonal system. Now compare that to type A. Type A blood evolved much later, during the rise of agriculture and settled communities. These are the cultivators, not the hunters. Type A biology naturally runs with a higher baseline level of cortisol. Their nervous systems are hypersensitive to stress. The paradox here is absolutely deadly for the modern gym-goer who doesn't understand this difference. If you're type A man and you try to train like a type O, doing insane high-intensity interval training, sprinting until you vomit, crushing yourself 7 days a week, you might actually be crashing your testosterone into the ground. Why? Because that intensity spikes your already sensitive cortisol levels through the roof. For a type O man, that brutal workout is a release, a purge of stress hormones. For a type A man, that same workout is perceived as trauma by your nervous system. If you're type A, the stress of the workout can completely outweigh the benefit. You need distinctly different training, calming, controlled recovery to protect your testosterone. You need to actively lower cortisol first to allow testosterone to rise naturally. Controlled lifting with strict rest periods, walking, yoga, breath work, these aren't optional extras for your chemistry. They're anabolic necessities.
This brings us to a concept most people never even reach: the hormonal clearance rate. It's not just about how much testosterone your body makes, it's about how fast you clear the stress hormones that actively kill it. Type O clears stress through intense action. Type A clears stress through calm and recovery. Swap these protocols and you stay trapped in a state of chronic stress, wondering why nothing works. I want you to pause right now and think honestly about your own life. Do you feel energized and alive after a brutal sprint session, or do you feel shattered and depleted for days? Do you thrive on heavy red meat, or does it make you feel sluggish and bloated? When you align your lifestyle with this biological reality, the transformation isn't a gradual uphill climb, it's a surge. It's like hitting a biological reboot button. After just 1 week of eating right for your type, the bloating vanishes, the brain fog lifts. Within 1 month, the effects become even more powerful. You start waking up with morning erections again, the premier sign of nocturnal testosterone pulsing in cardiovascular health. It means your plumbing is working the way it's supposed to. This happens because you've stopped the cortisol steal. You stopped forcing your body to rob the raw materials it needs for testosterone production, just to manufacture stress hormones instead. Now you understand the food piece and the exercise piece. That explains the foundation. But here's the bigger question. Why is your free testosterone still low, even when your total testosterone numbers look decent on paper? The answer lies in an organ that most men completely ignore until it's too late: the liver. The unexpected benefits of stopping this antigen war in your gut are absolutely profound. When you stop eating foods that cause that microscopic Velcro effect in your digestive system, you regain gut integrity. And this is crucial because your liver is the chemical processing plant of your entire body. One of its most important jobs is managing SHBG, sex hormone binding globulin. Think of SHBG as a pair of handcuffs for your testosterone. When testosterone is bound up by SHBG, it's handcuffed. It floats around in your bloodstream, but it can't actually do anything. It can't unlock the receptors on your muscle cells. It can't trigger the downstream effects you need for vitality, strength, and libido. It's functionally useless. When your liver is chronically stressed because it's constantly busy fighting off lectins and processing toxins from a leaky gut, it panics.
In this state of panic, it produces more and more SHBG as a protective mechanism. It handcuffs your testosterone to keep it safe from the perceived chaos. By aligning your food intake with your blood type, you dramatically lower the workload on your liver. You're not forcing it to fight fires all day long. As a result, it stops overproducing SHBG. The handcuffs come off. Suddenly, your free testosterone, the stuff that actually matters, the stuff that drives results, skyrockets, even if your total testosterone numbers didn't change on paper. But it gets even deeper than that. If your liver is overwhelmed and operating in survival mode, it also fails to properly filter out used estrogen from your system. In men over 40, this leads to estrogen dominance, which manifests as water retention, mood swings, loss of muscle definition, and even gynecomastia, breast tissue development. By simply removing the trigger foods that are incompatible with your blood type, you free up your liver to do its actual job, detoxifying excess estrogen and liberating your testosterone to do its work. Then there's the neurochemistry angle that almost nobody talks about. Did you know that roughly 90% of your serotonin, the neurotransmitter associated with mood stability and well-being, is actually produced in your gut, not your brain? When your gut is chronically inflamed from these lectin attacks, your neurotransmitter production crashes. This is why low testosterone so often comes hand in hand with anxiety, irritability, and a lack of motivation. When you heal the gut by respecting your blood type and removing incompatible foods, dopamine signaling clears up. You stop feeling reactive, defensive, and on edge all the time. You start feeling proactive, confident, and in control. This is the biological foundation of true masculine confidence. It's not a mindset hack. It's chemistry working the way it's supposed to. I know the skepticism is creeping in right now. You might be thinking, isn't this just the blood type diet fad? Isn't this pseudoscience? I hear you. You might have heard about Peter D'Adamo's book years ago and dismissed it as trendy nonsense. But we need to look at the modern science with fresh eyes. We're not saying you can only eat a narrow list of foods from a book. We're saying that nutrigenomics, the interaction between your genes and your food, is a measurable, documented scientific fact. If you're type O, you have naturally high stomach acid levels designed to digest meat efficiently. If you eat wheat, specifically the lectin wheat germ agglutinin, it literally mimics insulin in your system and blocks your fat-burning receptors. That's not theory, that's biochemistry. For a type O man, whole wheat isn't healthy energy, it's metabolic static, it's interference with your body's ability to function optimally. If you're type A, you have naturally lower stomach acid, a giant ribeye steak that fuels a type O man and makes him feel unstoppable will sit in your stomach and essentially rot, causing bacterial overgrowth, bloating, and more inflammation. That's not opinion, that's your physiology. The fear shouldn't be, will I miss out on certain nutrients? The real fear should be, am I actively poisoning my potential with foods my ancestors never encountered in their evolutionary environment? So where does this leave you 10 years from now? Everything we've discussed up to this point is genuinely helpful, but the most powerful effect, the thing that changes your entire trajectory, comes when we shift our perspective from the 30-day quick fix to your lifelong destiny. We're talking about epigenetics now. You cannot change the genes you were born with. You will always be type O or A or B or AB. That's set in stone, but you absolutely can change how those genes express themselves. Think of your genetics like a giant soundboard in a recording studio. You've got faders labeled heart disease, frailty, cognitive decline, and low libido. When you live out of alignment with your blood type, eating the wrong foods, training the wrong way, managing stress incorrectly, you're pushing those faders up. You're sending signals to your genes that say, express the disease, express the decline, express the weakness. But when you align your lifestyle with your biology, you flip the script entirely. You turn the volume down on disease pathways and crank up the volume on vitality, resilience, and longevity. Paint a picture of yourself in your 60s and 70s. Look around at the average man in that age range today. We've collectively accepted a narrative of inevitable slow decline. We accept that men just get frail as they age, their libido vanishes, their spark fades, their strength evaporates. But I'm here to tell you that this decline is not inevitable. That decay is not written in your DNA. That slow erosion of vitality is the accumulation of biological friction, 40 or 50 years of putting diesel fuel in a premium gasoline engine. It's the result of asking your immune system to fight your breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day for decades. By aligning your lifestyle with your blood type, you're removing that friction. You're taking the parking brake off your biology. You can be 60 years old with the hormonal profile, the energy levels, and the physical capability of a healthy 30-year-old if you stop creating internal resistance. Your biology isn't a suggestion or a set of rough guidelines. It's a precise set of instructions written in your DNA. Stop trying to rewrite the code with willpower and start learning how to read it and work with it. I'm challenging you today, right now. If you're tired of fighting your own body, if you're exhausted from doing everything right and still feeling like something's off, try this adjustment for just 2 weeks. This isn't a life sentence, it's an experiment, and you're the scientist. Eliminate the top trigger foods for your blood type. If you're type O, cut out wheat and dairy. If you're type A, significantly reduce or eliminate heavy red meat. Adjust your training intensity to match your stress response profile, and then just watch what happens. Pay close attention to how you feel an hour after you eat. Pay attention to the quality of your sleep. Pay attention to your mental clarity, your energy, your drive, your libido. And if you learned something genuinely new about your own biology today, something that made you rethink how you've been approaching your health, hit that like button. It genuinely helps us get this science in front of more men who desperately need to hear it. But don't stop here. Earlier, we discussed how stress hormones are the arch enemy of testosterone production. Now you know the foundation, the blueprint. But what happens next depends on one critical factor that most people never even consider. Removing the trigger is step 1, but step 2 is actively flushing that built-up cortisol out of your system to speed up the recovery process and repair the damage that's already been done over years or even decades. There's a specific protocol for flushing cortisol naturally that most men never learn about, and it's the perfect companion to everything you just discovered. The next piece of this puzzle will show you exactly how to accelerate this process and take back control of your hormonal destiny. This isn't just about feeling better for a few weeks. This is about rewriting your future. This is about being the man in the gym 20 years from now that everyone looks at and thinks, that's how I want to age. The roadmap is in your hands.